threat that climate change poses to the Great Lakes is real, is already occurring, and is destructive to wildlife, fisheries, habitat, and is disruptive and costly to human systems such as agriculture, tourism, real estate, transportation, infrastructure, just to name a few. Lake Superior is among the fastest warming lakes in the world. Evaporation increases snow and precipitation, costing cities more money in snow removal and in local impacts from localized flooding. Without ice cover in the winter, lake levels decrease, hurting property values along the shore and requiring vast, expensive new capital expenditures. Warmer water also expands the reach of invasive species, such as the warm water-loving Asian carp. And without the ice, winter wave activity destroys eggs of fall-spawning native fish species critical to the Great Lakes economy and our heritage. It's important to know that Superior feeds the other Great Lakes, and lake levels water levels in Lake Michigan and Lake Huron may drop as much as 4.5 feet in our lifetime, impacting groundwater for communities as aquifer levels and recharge rates drop. Tourism, shipping, and agriculture, as I mentioned, are also uniquely vulnerable to climate disruptions. Michigan cherry harvest is down this year 80% as a result of the abnormally warm winter and hard freeze. Michigan produces 3/4 of all U.S. tart cherries, and for the first time in their history, Michigan cherry businesses are importing cherries from Poland and South America. Apples and peaches have also been adversely impacted. Jobs are lost. $190 million in business profit have been lost just this season. And for small family-run businesses in small towns in northern Michigan that have been in the same hands for generations, it's devastating. Last week, the Michigan legislature passed a resolution asking President Obama and the Secretary of Agriculture for federal disaster aid. These types of climate disruptions are going to cost more in the future without sensible regulations such as the carbon pollution standard. Water shortages in other regions of the country will increase the threat of Great Lakes water diversion. Western governors are already publicly talking about building pipelines from the Great Lakes into the Great Plains in the Southwest. And unfortunately, the Ohio Senate just passed a bill weakening resolutions, or weakening protections against increased water diversions from the Great Lakes. It's a crime. That said, it's clear that Great Lakes states themselves bear considerable responsibility for these impacts. Midwest utilities are responsible for the greatest share of carbon pollution in the United States. Michigan is ranked 12th as far as carbon emissions from the electric power sector. Illinois is 6th, Pennsylvania 4th, and my state, Ohio, is behind only Texas in CO2 emissions from the electric power sector. 88.9% of our electric generation is coal-fired in Ohio. When we don't mine coal in Ohio, we have to import that, and it costs us money. We send our income to places like West Virginia and Montana and other states. In fact, there are more jobs associated with renewable energy in Ohio than there is with coal. And our state, like many states, have done a good job of creating incentives for, on the supply side, for renewable energy. Unfortunately, our states are not doing enough on the demand side. That's what regulations such as the carbon pollution standard does, in that it acknowledges the externalities associated with fossil fuels. The gentleman who spoke a moment ago perpetuates this myth of low-cost coal. That argument demonstrates an ignorance of the well-established externalities that fossil fuels, using fossil fuels in our energy system. And it's an argument that we've heard before. In the mid-1990s, Big Tobacco spent millions to undermine well-established science and to block regulations that the Clinton administration was pursuing to regulate tobacco. Big oil and big coal are adopting the same methods to try to undermine science and block regulations that will save lives and where the benefits will far outweigh the costs. So, in conclusion, I'll just sum up. These clean air standards create jobs by driving growth in cleaner forms of energy. We need the carbon pollution standard not only for new power plants, but also for existing fossil fuel power plants. It's time for public policy to catch up with established science and economic analysis, and it's time to stand up for this and future generations.